So much, Madam Chair. First question, please, for you, Ms. Kolklischer. Does Axiom or any other IPG company provide services to entities outside of the United States based upon or linked to data about U.S. persons?
Thank you, Senator, for your question. Of course, I'm at Kinesso and formerly at Axiom and a part of the IPG family. So Axiom data, we at Axiom and at Kinesso both, we do have clients that are multinationals, and we have clients that operate in other markets around the world. And part of the services we provide are data-enabled services, marketing and advertising services. So yes.
Thank you. And do Kinesso, Axiom, or other IPG companies provide data-connected services or services based on or related to data about U.S. persons to federal agencies, state or local law enforcement, or any other public sector actors in the United States?
Of course, again, I'm speaking about Axiom. Axiom does have, and shortly to be retired, an identity authentication product, which is made up of regulated data and provided for regulated service. And that is, we call that our risk product suite, and it solves things like know your customer obligations that financial services have. And that we're actually exiting that business shortly and concentrating on marketing and advertising.
And is that the only product or service that you sell to any public sector entity in the United States?
We do other things like marketing and advertising data-enabled services, like we supported an ad council advertising campaign to help get information out to help with the pandemic. Another example I can think of is we helped the American Red Cross when the Hurricane Katrina hit New Orleans several years ago. We helped get data to them for some marketing communications to go out and find audiences so they could learn about help and services from the American Red Cross. We have a few other campaigns like that that I am aware of. Does that help?
Thank you, Ms. Pleasure. Do any IPG entities provide any services or have any financial relationships, direct or indirect, with any agencies or clients at the Department of Defense, in the intelligence community, or in federal, state, or local law enforcement?
It is not an area of concentration, and I don't know the answer right off. I feel like
for the record.
Yes, I do not know the answer right off, but I promise I will go and research it and get you an answer so that I can be certain. Of course, there may be confidentiality issues that I'll have to navigate if we do have those sorts of contracts, but I'm glad to go research and get you an answer.
So just to be clear, Ms. Kolklischer, you are not personally aware and have never heard of any financial relationship between an IPG entity and the Department of Defense, the U.S. intelligence community, or any federal, state, or local law enforcement entity?
I do know that Axiom, of course, I'm not at Axiom now, and Axiom historically has had some relationships with some of that community, but I do not have the knowledge to share this, but I'll research it for you.
Well, what are you aware of? What do you recall?
We do have some. We did. I'm not in command of the knowledge because I'm not at Axiom now, but there are some governmental agencies that we have worked with. Most of it, like the Veterans Administration, was advertising and trying to do outreach to their veterans community. So rather than fish around, if you might allow me, Senator, I'll go and research and get you an exactly right answer, if that would be okay.
Thank you. Do any IPG entities have direct or indirect financial relationships or provide any services or products to any foreign governmental entities?
Not to my knowledge.
Will you please double check for the record?
I certainly will.
Thank you. And how does Axiom or how do other IPG entities engaged in their activities obtain device identifiers such as IMEI or IMSI numbers?
At Axiom and at Kinesso, of course, we operate in the digital advertising and marketing space, and we run a unified ethical framework as the basis for our data governance program. When we either source data, we undergo a due diligence process. I always like to say not all data is the same and not all data uses are the same. Some of the data, like device IDs, that is a connecting piece of data that we use to enable and activate digital advertising campaigns on behalf of our clients. So it may be that it flows in from one of our connected partner ecosystem providers, like an advertising network or a publisher, and we sit in the middle as a connector. That is typically how the data flows. Does that help answer?
Do you place any limitations? Does Axiom or any IPG entity place any limitations on the form, category, type of entities to whom you'll sell services?
Absolutely, Senator. Thank you for that question. We do, as I mentioned, we use what's called a unified ethical frame for our data governance program. We practice an accountability-based data governance program.
Which types, forgive me, but my time is limited. Which types of entities specifically will you not license data to or provide services to?
Well, they have to be a legitimate commercial enterprise. We don't provide data to individuals or data-enabled services to individuals. It is to commercial entities for a legitimate ethical purpose. We judge the data use in context via our privacy impact assessment process. We check it off against legal requirements, regulatory requirements, co-regulatory requirements. We do a harm detection and prevention test. And then, very important to all of us, we do a fairness test. I mentioned in my opening remarks that we're people-centered, and that is we design from people outwards, from the engineering layer outward.
Ma'am, my time is limited. I appreciate the elaboration of that policy. Let me ask you this question. Does any IPG entity or has any IPG entity provided any service or sold any product to private investigators?
No. A very long time ago, there was one business that Axiom owned that we divested that did serve PIs, but that might have been 10 or 15 years ago. So the answer is no today.
And which firm was that?
It was a Axiom owned. We had acquired an entity. We operated it for a few years, and then we sold it. And I apologize, I cannot recall the name right now.
Thank you, ma'am. Madam Chair, I may return for a second round if we have the opportunity. I yield.
Excellent. Senator Blackburn.